So from one country struggling to figure out how do we do participation at a national scale, how does government gear up for that, how does civil society gear up for that, back to our country, and those same kinds of questions here. The final plenary here, Sandy Heyerbacher will lead, and I will pitch in. We'll kind of focus on that question, especially in the context of this thing that some of you have heard about a little bit, the National Dialogue on Mental Health. And as part of this, at about 2, we will try, if our technology succeeds, to pipe in Carolyn Lukensmeyer from Sacramento, which is one of the places where this national dialogue is launching today. So without further ado, Sandy.
Thank you. Okay. We have some slides, but then Matt and I are both going to come off the stage and we're going to talk to you guys about some of the challenges that we've faced and some of the interesting hurdles and things that we've learned through doing this project, which has been a really unique and important project. So this started around, I think we started planning it around January, is that right? Obama had mentioned in his State of the Union address that our country really needed to have a national conversation on mental health. And HHS kind of answered that call, Health and Human Services, a U.S. federal agency. And Carolyn Lukensmeyer, who is now with the National Institute for Civil Discourse, she was the president of America Speaks. She had a connection at HHS, and they started talking about, well, what would this look like if we actually had face-to-face discussions, really high-quality deliberations on mental health. And so she got a bunch of us together in a collaborative group to think about how could we utilize our different methodologies, how can we actually work together to make something like this happen. So these are the partners you can see on the bottom are the main partners. America Speaks, Deliberative Democracy Consortium, which is Matt's organization, Everyday Democracy, National Issues Forums, NCDD, my organization, and NICD, which is Carolyn's new organization. Sorry about the similar acronyms, but it's just part of being in this field, I guess. That's the National Institute for Civil Discourse. Oh, and I wanted to mention something about NCDD, just because you're making me do this, Matt. So for those of you who don't know about NCDD, I think a lot of you are members, but you could join NCDD for free or just for $50 a year or $25 if you're a student. But there is a free option. So if you're interested in dialogue and deliberation work, public engagement work, it's a great network of about 2,000 amazing people who do this kind of work, the kind of people that you just spent a couple days with. So please do join if you aren't already a member. So I'm sorry, I had to do that. So and by the way, our project is called Creating Community Solutions. The National Dialogue on Mental Health, or National Conversation on Mental Health, depending on who you talk to in DC, is a much bigger kind of initiative that involves MTV and public service campaigns and all kinds of organizations getting involved in that. But we are running something that is quite big, too, especially for our field, called Creating Community Solutions, which is a part of the National Dialogue on Mental Health. We joke that it's the dialogue part of the National Dialogue on Mental Health. So our goals are, it's an effort to organize hundreds of community conversations across the country. There's 10 lead sites, cities that are going to be having larger events. 2 of them are today, which I feel really torn because I'm supposed to be tweeting. I was just remembering that and trying to put a couple tweets out. We're supposed to be tweeting about those events today, tweeting and blog posting and doing all kinds of media. So there's today is Albuquerque and Sacramento, and we'll hear from Carolyn from Sacramento a little bit later. And so we wanted to not just have the 10 lead cities, but to also try to have people self-organize conversations across the country. That's something that we've been talking about for a long time, and of course it's been tried in a variety of ways. And I think you'll be interested in the unique way that we're doing it with this project. So we're doing it by allowing people to use their own methods. We have a discussion guide, and we'll get to this a little later. One of the challenges of working with HHS and the White House is they haven't released the discussion guide to us yet, even though I know, it's 2 of the events are today. So it's just one of those things that we have to deal with. So, but we are allowing people to use whatever method. You know, if you can use the discussion guide, use the key issues that we bring up, and try to have some things in common. You can use different kinds of methods. You can use different online methods. So we want a whole variety of large and small, different kinds of approaches. And we're also running an online dialogue on the Civic Commons, which you can go to if you want at theciviccommons.com/mental health. So this is the Creating Community Solutions team, which I already went over, and it's in concert with SAMHSA, which is part of HHS, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. And one of the exciting things about this project and how we've been approaching it is we have been getting a lot of organizations signed up as partners for the project. The idea is that if we can get groups like the American Library Association, 4-H, United Way, groups like that involved, then the map that I'll show you in a minute will be, it'll be easy for people to find each other in their region and be able to self-organize dialogues all across the country. But we wanted to combine the strengths and capacities of these different organizations. And then there's a whole bunch of organizations already planning their own, sometimes large scale, sometimes smaller scale events. And the goals of the dialogue are basically to break down misperceptions and promote recovery and healthy communities, to field innovative community-based solutions to mental health needs, focusing on young people, and to develop steps for communities to move forward, complementing existing local activities. So it's important to note that policy change is not in there. This is not about changing federal policy, even though it's a national dialogue on mental health. It's really meant to empower people at the local level to figure out what is it that their community needs, where are the gaps in services, how are young people's needs not being met, and to try to work together and establish collaborative groups to work on those issues. So the conversation groups, and these are the lead cities. At the lead cities, this is what it looks like. Not okay. Well, so ideally, this is what it would look like when we have the dialogues. You may be in a room like this, where there's 8 to 10 people at tables, or if you're having it in your living room or at a coffee shop, around 8 to 10 people, a diverse group of people. You have 2 facilitators, and you use the community conversation discussion guide, which we secretly send people drafts of. So if you want it, we can send you a secret draft. And basically, these are things that you get into, Matt, but basically the sequence of the conversations, you start the conversation, you identify challenges. The conversations do focus on youth. That's the goal of this project. And like I said, it focuses on creating community solutions, hence the name. And this is one thing that I just think is super cool about this project. This map that's been developed, all of these little markers on the map are upcoming events or events that are being planned, and then there will be more previous events, especially after today. So you can see what the red and the green and the yellow mean. But the idea is that anyone who's interested in starting a dialogue can sign up and can initiate a pin on the map somewhere in the country. And you can see where we need some more pins. And then others, through these networks that we're reaching out to and through social media and communications efforts, they will find they will find your pin and communicate with you and start organizing something together is the idea of it. So it's an experiment. We're going to see how that plays out, but it's kind of exciting. We've been talking a lot about building an infrastructure for national dialogue. What would that infrastructure look like? And part of it is a map like this. Part of it is the kinds of partnerships we've been developing. And and that's the end of our slideshow.